All right, welcome back to JFace Games. Today we are talking about the effort die, or the effort system, and how we're keeping the effort system, but we're getting rid of the concept of the effort die. And sort of what does that mean, and why are we doing this? So, the idea here being that, one, if you're not new to this system, let me kind of explain what the effort die is, and then what we're going to do with it. So the effort die originally was that when you had your character, you in essence had a spark die, which was a D10 sitting on your character sheet, and you had an effort die, which was a D6. The idea being that at any point in time you could use your spark points to give yourself, in essence, that's your resource to fuel your powers, so your special attacks, your everything. And your effort was the maximum amount you could sort of stress yourself to get pluses, right? So if you're at a 1, that means you could take, in essence, damage in this system, or stress, but the maximum you could take is 1 stress to do a +1 on your attack potentially, or your save. And if you could get that up to 2, you could stress yourself a little bit more and get actual more pluses. And that's a big deal because the math in this game is pretty tight. We use D4s, D6s, D8s, D10s, and any +1 is going to shift that variability pretty large as opposed to like a D20 system. So what have we done instead of this? Why are we getting rid of this? Well, I felt the original system was that at the beginning of your turn, the player then had this choice. Am I going to give myself a +1 effort, or am I going to increase my spark points? And that was supposed to add some sort of tension to the player, meaning, ooh, which way am I going to go? Is this important? But the more I thought on it, and when I sat back and actually started creating a follow-up video to the character creation videos. So I did one way back, but I think the character creation design has changed enough that we can warrant another character creation video. And when I was going through that process, and when I was actually also trying to teach a friend this game, I felt this is one of the biggest sticking points to me. I felt this was the part that was too mechanical, and it didn't add enough theme. Right? So it's one of those things that any board game I love. I love when the mechanic matches the theme well enough that you feel like, oh, that makes sense, it's great. And I felt like this one didn't. And the idea was supposed to be giving you some sort of pressure luck concept, but it was too mechanical, not enough theme, and so we're scrapping it. Now, we're not scrapping it altogether. I still like the idea of effort, but I think that what we're gonna do is something a little different, and that is what I would call the teamwork die. The teamwork die. Now, in this scenario, think about instead of a D6 for effort that's on your character sheet, because the problem with this is that when the effort die is on your character sheet, it becomes almost like a Euro board game where it's like you're just worrying about your sheet and what am I doing with my points, and you might not know what your buddy's doing with his effort points and his spark points, and so where's the teamwork? And one of the tenets that we had in this game design way back in the beginning was the idea that, yes, we wanted a tactical game, but we wanted thematic and we wanted teamwork. Teamwork was the third thing on my list of desires for a board game. So how do we get more teamwork out of this? Well, the idea being that instead of you having 2 dice on your character sheet that you're worrying about, you only have 1 dice. You have your spark points. Boom, right there. But now we have maybe like a D10 in like on the middle of the table, right? On the table between all players, right? And so now you have this D10. At first it's a 0, like it doesn't have any. But what you could do is that this is a shared effort pool amongst the players. And so let's first talk about how you get points there. Well, how to increase the teamwork die. Well, the first thing you could do is leadership ability. So leadership powers would obviously target this. So you'd have some sort of leadership power where, you know, you burn some spark points, you cast this power, you rally the troops or whatever the case is, and all of a sudden the teamwork die goes up, I don't know, 1 to 3 or something. But another thing I think is important is that anytime you use a power and spend spark points, you can burn 1 additional spark point to increase the teamwork die by +1. So now you have this idea of, I am doing a cleave, and we'll say cleave takes 2 spark points. So I'm about to cleave through these 2 guys. I'm gonna just burn 3 spark points instead of 2, and I'm gonna increase the teamwork die by 1, right? So I'm taxing myself a little bit more, but thematically that means that I'm like setting things up. Like I'm trying to, yes, I'm cleaving, but I'm cleaving in a way that like my buddies are now maybe to my back, or I'm cleaving in a way that's making an opening, who knows, right? Like you can thematically tie it in however you want. But now the question is, let's make this a, that's fine. Let's bold this one. Just so that we can see what's going on here, right? So now the question becomes, okay, how do you use them, right? So now, how do you use the teamwork die? I think this becomes the really fun part in the sense that any player can use any amount of the teamwork die to add pluses to the following. And I would say attacks, hits, defensive rolls, their spark point die. The only thing you can't do with it is heal yourself, right? So you could, now you have this dice and you have this concept of like, you know what? I'm gonna use my leadership ability. Boom, the teamwork die now hits the table and it's at 2. The next guy goes, he's gonna use his cleave ability and he cleaves and he's gonna also drain an extra spark point. Boom, so now the spark die is at 3. The next person, who's our wizard, who starts combat and you only have 5 spark points to start combat, he now grabs all 3 of those spark points and he says, I'm at 8. And now I'm gonna blow my, fireball or whatever. And so it's like you can have this sort of combo, right? But the issue could be, let's say that someone in the middle there, like a monster attacks. So you're setting up this combo, but the monster attacks the wizard. And the wizard is now, rolling a defensive die, and he rolls like a 3. And he goes, you know what, maybe the defensive die, you can add those retroactively. So he says, you know what, I know that we're gonna do this thing where I was gonna cast this fireball, but I'm gonna burn 2 of those to get my defense up to a 5, and hopefully that blocks it, because maybe you know what the target number is. So that's the idea right now, and I kind of love it. And I'm curious what you guys think of this teamwork die instead of the effort die, because I don't think it adds too much cognitive load. It's okay if it slows down combat a little bit, in the sense of, I don't want it to slow down combat in terms of I'm deciding what to do on my turn, because that is bad. But if people are deciding what to do on their turn as a party, I'm okay with that. Like that's a healthy slowdown, I think. Whereas a one person just trying to figure out one spell and everyone else is not involved, that's an unhealthy slowdown. So that's the idea. This is a quick video, but I'm really curious what you guys think. So leave comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me know what you think. I got a couple other videos in the tank that I'm ready to come out with, because I'm feeling good about this one, and that always gets me motivated to make more stuff. So, all right, guys.